with the pandemic and the move and the shift to home. Well, if you take into consideration the traditional law firm office pre-pandemic, when an associate or a partner needs to do some work, they go into their office and shut the door anyway. So they need peace and quiet, right? What I think firms that I've spoken to, not just here, but obviously we have a global audience, global client network. The firms that I've spoken to, what has been missing in with everybody working remotely has been the creativity, and you touched on that brilliant word, is where their ability to come out of that office and have their little pods and their get-togethers and talk about the cases and trying to come up with creative ideas. And I think a lot of firms really struggled with not doing that in person. So I do think there will be a hybrid model going forward. I think that we'll see a move towards smaller offices and teams working in pods and maybe in coffee shops or maybe in and so I think there'll be I think there'll be a combination of the two, because there's definitely room for the office environment, but maybe just not so militantly, 9 till 9 and everybody must be in and and that kind of thing. I think people have realized that there's scope for having a more inspiring environment, really. I mean, we've probably all found them, which is great. I think just to touch on another point you made there.
Sorry, Rob, you're still answering Tebelo's question. I see that Ndoko's and Andile's hands are up. Once Rob finishes this point, I will then let you guys ask your questions.
I was just going to point, Tebelo said something interesting there and I just got picked up on it, but I think the advent of, I can't think of the word, but the advent of technology into law, which, as we've already pointed out, is going at a faster pace than many other industries. Is kind of.
But it took long for us to get here, but it's going fast.
It's taken 400 years, but
but
you're getting there now.
Fast.
It's democratizing the legal skills, which is great because it means that, and what I mean by that, is that you're not tied by your jurisdiction. You're not, well, obviously your admissions and that, but if you're, your skills are not, you're able, people in South Africa now or in other countries are able to play on a level playing field with those in London and New York. And I think that's only going to happen more and more over time. And I love. But what I don't want to see, which I'm a big advocate, is then that democratization of law through technology becoming a cheapening of legal skills, because that is what happens in other industries. I mean, look, in our recruitment team, sometimes people turn around and go, well, I don't want to pay your fees. I'm just going to put an advert on Careers 24. But it's like, well, great. I mean, that's the cheapening of recruitment services. And 9 times out of 10, that will fail. And, and they'll come back to us. But yes, that's something we've got to be aware of.
Sure. Thank you so much, Rob.
Anytime.
And then Ndoko, so you wanted to ask your question. Your hand is up.
Hi. Yes. Thank you so much, Rory-san. Can everyone hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Thank you, Rob. My question actually ties into what your last point was before we had to hop off the meeting. But I suppose you're going to host a separate seminar for that. But I did want to ask, is taking another language advantageous in the legal field? But I'll park all my questions for that at a later stage.
We can talk about that. We can touch on it. I mean, global moves is going to be, and global mobility is going to be a huge topic that we can cover over another hour. But just to answer your point, it's something that's it's actually quite close to my heart, because when I moved to Hong Kong in 2008, back end of 2008, early 2009, I was toying with the idea of, should I learn Cantonese or Mandarin, or Putonghua as its official title is, I decided, well, Chinese is really hard to learn to start with, but I did try. But then, the language of business, even in Asia, is English. So I didn't continue with that. I think from a cultural perspective, it would have helped if I could have spoken Chinese. And I have looked at African languages, and I'm toying with the idea. Well, a friend of mine who is a partner in Santon said to me, who speaks, and it's originally, I think, from Tanzania, speaks Swahili, and he says he's trying to push me down that route, saying that Swahili is a language that is the most, forgive me if I'm wrong, but it's the most spoken on the continent. Maybe, I don't know. But is it advantageous? Yes, because you are, even if you go to China and you can say a few words, you know, the smile will come on the client's face or the lawyer's face, you know, whoever you're meeting. If I go to Kenya and at least, you know, try to greet them in Swahili, then at least that breaks down a few barriers. And that, when it comes to building relationships and networking and connections, will help. Whether you'd ever be able to get to the skill level of being able to draft in another language, or I don't know, but it would certainly help from a marketing perspective.
Okay, that I do understand. I did have 2 follow-up questions. I am cognizant of time, so maybe you can touch on it as you're speaking. But you spoke on being creative and finding more accommodative avenues to present yourself via CV. You spoke about video interviewing styles. And a lot of us law students are referred to Leaply as a means of, you know, reaching recruiters, applying for back work. I'm not sure if you're familiar with the platform.
So you just broke up as you said the name. What was the name of
Leaply. Leaply, sorry, Leaply.
Leaply.
Yes.
It rings a bell, but I don't know it that well. I'll have a look at it.
It is a job platform? Yes, I find that it is quite limited. It's great in scoping out where you are geographically and which opportunities are open to you based on your marks and your CV, etc. But I do find it quite limiting in the creative sense. So I did want to find out from you how it is we can offset that limitation. And then the last question is just as a matter of interest, is you spoke about the digitalization of the legal field. And a lot of the times in my LLB, I found myself listening to lectures telling us that we do have a social responsibility towards people on the ground, especially with courses like legal practice, where you actually interact with clients that aren't from communities that have much resources. So I wanted to find out from you, with the digitalization of the legal field, what does that mean for those people on the ground that need those services? Because I think there's a backlog of trying to assist them. And so if we're moving forward, we need to be able to account for the help. And some of us come from those communities. So I just wanted to hear your opinion, but I'm done with my questions. Thank you, Rob.
No, that's a really, really pertinent question and really important. I'll try and do them together or in reverse. But the personal opinion is that there's not enough done for communities that can't afford traditional legal services. This is not just a South African thing. This is a continent-wide thing, and in many cases, a global thing. And there are companies here in South Africa that I know, I don't know them well enough, but I know there's a company called Law for All, which is helping, is trying to help communities access legal services. You know, but there's not enough done. There really isn't. And I do believe that with, you know, again, I'll go back to my original point about legal technology. Some of it can be very, very useful, and some of it should be being used by firms to make it make legal services. They should. I don't know what firms are doing regarding technology and their pro bono departments, is what I'm trying to say. But there should be a pressure be put on by yourselves to, if you're in firms, to do that, to utilize. You know, I mean, take Luminance for instance, a piece of software that's excellent. Oh, by the way, that was the thing I was going to point out. Every piece of legal technology you find, every single one of them I've found so far does a free demo. So do a free demo, get to know it, get to use it. and see if you think it's going to be something that you can utilize in the future. But you know, I was talking about Luminance and Weber Wenzel. I don't know Weber Wenzel very well. We don't work with them, but I know that they've got this software. Do they implement it in their pro bono work? Do they then go out to the communities that can't afford the work, traditional legal services and utilize this technology, which would do things very quickly, very fast, and very accurately, and very cheaply? So I don't know. I think there's a bit of a discord is what I'm trying to say to you in terms of where we're at the moment. The tools are there, the need is there, but whether the two are coming together at the moment, I don't know. In terms of Leaply, I don't really know it. I'm gonna have to look at it for you, and maybe I can have a review later on after this call, and then send Rory some thoughts so that she can share with you guys. But you know, we have a video platform that I invested in out of the UK. It's very good. I'm happy to give people access to it. In terms of, it would be a login that you can give, and then you can record yourself, and then you can download the video. I've got to be honest, I have given lots and lots of people access to it in the past, and people haven't used it. I don't know what, for one reason or another, but I can make that available. I just have to get your email address to then set you up with an account, and then you can go in and video yourself, which I believe is editable, or you can re-record it if you're not happy. But then there would be, I can put 3 questions in there so you can answer it so it looks like you're being interviewed. I'm happy to make that available because, again, you know, I'm here to help, I'm here to share. But I think that's where you can start to differentiate yourself, you know, that your experience, your relevance to the firm. The other thing I was going to talk about, if you're a student and you're looking for articles, or if you're, you know, there's so many law firms in South Africa. You know, do not be afraid to work for a small firm, a one-man band, 2, 3, 4 people. Many cases, firms like the fact that you have come from experience of smaller firms and banks and corporates in the future, because you would have been involved in so much more. You know, again, I'm not going to dismiss the if you've got an international law firm or you've got a big 5 on your CV, great, because it looks good. There's a certain level of training and experience which comes with that. But you might be one of 10 in a team, and you might not get the same experience that you would get at a smaller law firm down the road. Just be sure that it's doing the kind of law that you want. Make sure that you find out and do your homework on the principal. I'm sure that you've all got horror stories of partners that you've worked for. Rory's smiling, that weren't very nice. Don't go and, you know, and don't be afraid to seed your articles if that's the case. But don't forget, a lot of these people are having to change and realize as well. So make sure, you know, again, I can go into more detail about how to select your where to do articles and where to move, because it is important. Remembering, go back to what I said 20 minutes ago, which is you are the skill set. You are the commodity, and you have to remember that and put yourself at the top and push yourself forward. Don't be shy. You are the skill set. And, you know, there might be 20 million lawyers in the world, but there's 8 billion people. So that puts you in a very small, top level class of people that are bastions of the law in South Africa and beyond.
I love that so much.
And I want you to have that in your head, because not enough, you know, you look at law, look at LinkedIn, look at Fiverr, look at Upwork. It's cheapening law. It's making you go in there and go, oh, I'll do it for nothing. You know, that's not where your skill set should be. I mean, how many jobs have you all applied for where they won't tell you the salary? I mean, what's all that about? Like, what are you trying to get me as cheap as possible, are you? Like, you know, why are we starting negotiations before I've even had an interview? That's got to end. You've got to determine what your value is and what you will work for. And then, you know, that anyway, that's something that is changing, and it's something that you should be ready for, and you shouldn't be afraid to put yourself out there on that basis. And I think that's, again, how you make yourself different.
Yeah, that is so, so important, Rob, and I couldn't put more emphasis on that. I'm just cognizant of time, and we've had 3 questions, 3 hands up for a while. Andile, Katlego, and Koketso. Andile, you can ask your question.
Hi, Rory. Hi, Rob.
Hi.
Hi. Yeah, so I have 3 questions, but I think you can probably be answering like one. So number one, so if you come from like a generalist background, right? So let's say you've done your articles and all of that, medium-sized law firm, you've been doing everything, collections, labor, your corporate commercial, right? And now you're looking to specialize. How does one do that? How does one go from being generalist to actually specializing? Number 2, is it good or is it helpful to actually come from a generalist background where you've been exposed to a lot of things, going into specializing? You know, does that actually help you? And then number 3, can it ever be too late to actually specialize? Because like you hear this a lot, you know, and also like when you're trying to get those opportunities into specializing, someone will tell you, hey, so what experience do you have in this? It's like, well, I've been, you know, doing 1, 2, and 3, but I haven't really been exposed to this, which is why I'm trying to get into it and it's what I'm passionate about. But you have that generalist experience. So the last question is just, well, let me actually just go through them again. So it's how do you go from generalizing to specializing? Number 2, is it good to be or to have generalist experience and then try to specialize? And then number 3, can it ever be too late? Thank you.
Can I answer that? Because I'm like burning inside. I'm like, I like, this is such a, for me, this is such a, it's a topic that's so close to my heart, because I get this a lot, especially from like young Black lawyers, and a lot of people, when you want to specialize, especially if you want to move from, for example, labor or litigation, and you want to get into the more like fancy stuff like corporate or commercial, people always use that whole you don't have the experience as a way to oh, guys, please mute.
Someone's baby.
Yeah, I think it's Tubello.
Very sweet.
She's been hiding that baby from us. You must show us a picture of Tubello before we go. And so people use that as a way to gatekeep, right? As a way for people not to go into certain fields. So to answer your question, you can always specialize. And I always use the example of, there was a partner when I was at Bowman's who changed as a partner from doing tax to litigation. And you guys need to have a very long-term view of your career. It doesn't matter whether you are even at partner level and you've been doing something, you can always change, because you probably have been practicing for like 10 years when you make partner. And if you think about the fact that your legal career can be 30 or 40 years, you can always change and specialize in whatever field you want to go into. I mean, I remember I changed as a second-year associate from doing tax to banking and finance. And I mean, I'd been practicing for 5 years. People are like, no, you can't change, it's too late. I was like, what do you mean? Like, I've literally only been practicing for 5 years, and I forced people to like help me, or not help me, but I made myself go into the area that I wanted. I went above my boss's boss, and I was like, my boss is like gatekeeping. They don't want me to change. And let me tell you my story, because maybe there's lessons for it. So I was at Bowman's doing tax, and then a new partner, it was Lionel Shaw, joined the Bowman's team. And Bowman's didn't have a banking and finance practice. And I'd been there knowing they don't have banking and finance, but I've always wanted to do banking and finance. And then this partner joins, and I'm 5 years into my career, and they're bringing a banking and finance team. So I went directly to my boss, who I was working for in the tax department, and said, I want to move to bank and finance. And he was like, no, you can't move. You know, you are 3 years post articles. You've been doing tax. You don't have the experience for bank and finance. So I left him. And then I went to talk to the bank and finance partner. And I said, I want to move. Would you like me to go into your team? And they're like, give us your CV. And the thing is, I had prepared myself for the move. I knew I wanted to go into banking and finance, and people were gatekeeping. So what did I do? I did banking and finance courses. I read up on banking and finance stuff. I would read the Business Day. I would read Financial Mail, because those are publications that are relevant to the industry. So if you have an interest in a field and your current partner or the person you're working for doesn't have that practice, the practical things you can do in order to move yourself is to do courses in the relevant field, even if it's short courses. I mean, I took it overboard and I ended up doing a master's in corporate law at Wits. But you don't even need to go to the corporate master's level. You can do short courses online. You can do in-person short courses. You can attend webinars around your subject matter. You can read up on it so that you can start having conversations about it. And then even on stuff like on LinkedIn, you can start like, once you have an understanding of the industry, even if you like start writing articles or commenting on it so that people can see that that's where you want to niche yourself. And then if it's a field that you have an interest in and you're in a law firm that has that, then volunteer to work for the team that does the work. Even if you like work on the weekend on their stuff, or go to a partner within your law firm who's in that field and say, can you write an article together? This is the idea that I had. So if you, let's say you're in litigation, you want to go into corporate law, read Financial Mail, see if there's like a new law on corporate law that comes up, say, I've read about this, it's interesting to me. This is a field I eventually want to go into. Can you write an article with me? I'll do all the research. All I need for you is to check it, and then you can also put your name on it. That way you're adding value, right? And you're not just going to someone saying, I want to join your team. It's like, yeah, 1 million people want to join my team. What sets you apart? So you need to be very proactive about your own career. You need to read up on the industry. You need to take courses, and then so that you set yourself up for that. And then if you can't find that within your own law firm, then try and find an alternative law firm or an alternative space to go to. And if push comes to shove and you have to take a salary cut or your career has to move back 2 years, then it's fine. Because again, that's taking a long-term view of your career. And then just quickly as well, I think being initially a generalist and then specializing is always a good thing, because you don't know where your career is going to go. So for example, if you eventually move in-house, which is where I'm at, you'll find that as a general counsel, for example, you'll have to have different skill sets. You'll need to know a little bit of litigation. You'll need to know a little bit of banking and finance. And if you, let's say you eventually want to move into business from law, you will need to know litigation. You'll need to know labor law, which is human resources. So always, like, no legal skills will be useless. And you will find that eventually you will tap into some of your legal skills as your career progresses. So generalist, always great to start off, and you can always niche yourself later on in your career. Okay, Ukahlego had a comment.
Thank you.
I'm just going to try and move things along quicker because we have a lot of hands up. So Andila, I hope that answers your question. Kahlego, you can go ahead.
Afternoon, everyone. I just have 3 questions for Rob. Rob, the first one is, you mentioned on AI and artificial intelligence, which is a very important and topical thing, especially in the legal context, given that AI tends to standardize stuff. And there's a lot of subjectivity in the legal space, you know, even from even court judgments, for example, because there's this debate whether or not should court judgments be then, can AI predict whether, you know, whatever your reasoning or the legal, you know, reasoning you used, can it go past a court and be accepted by a court, you know, using AI? And that has been a bit of a subjectivity issue, as well as also in the in-house space where now standardizing it might not be ideal for a certain client because of different layers that they need they need maybe specific clauses in the contract, which I think some of these softwares can do. But I just wanted to understand, to what extent then do you think, is it only just on standardization, 1? 2, also, is it helpful for one to know coding, for example, as you had mentioned? And the other question is just on fees. The flat fee structure, yes, I've always debated with my friends on the hourly rate, especially with accountants as well, that at some point there'll be cost pressures and they'll need to move to a viable position where either it's flat or it's participation. So it's flat, some participation moving forward, especially for the guys in corporate deals. So for me, it does not apply to everyone, but it squeezes others. Then how do you then equilibrate, like create an equilibrium within the firm, you know, to make sure that you remunerate everyone in the same level, you know, fairly. Yeah. And the other one is, the other one is merit-based performance structures. Yes, I understand that the international guys tend to do that, but it kind of like creates silos within companies because cost structures now are from one silo, which is one partner moving down, and the remuneration and fairness of remuneration tends to differ. And even with bonus output, even though contribution might be the same, You know, I might be a CA, contribution might be the same, work might be the same, but because I'm working for a guy that's profitable, I tend to get a higher kicker, you know, and then that in itself creates some fair imbalances, and cross-pollination between teams within the same department becomes an issue, which, I just want you to address that. Thank you. Thanks.
Brilliant. Good questions, Kathleen. And please let me just go through. I've just been writing them down there. Okay, so AI, yes, you are absolutely spot on. It's still in its infancy. AI, machine learning software that's still coming out. It's still a brand new thing. Lots and lots of law, especially when it gets to court matters. There's lots of subjectivity involved, and from what I've seen, I don't believe that the technology that is available currently would have any impact on that. It's much more impactful on the contract reviewing, and you know, eventually that's going to be contract drafting. It's going to be, you know, it's going to have an effect. But I don't think it's quite there yet to take over. It needs to be integrated. But these things are going to get better, aren't they? They're going to get better and they're going to get cleverer. But I don't think it will ever. There's a book called The End of Lawyers by Richard Susskind, and in there he talks about the technology. I mean, it's a dramatic title, but it doesn't really suggest that there's not going to be that it's all going to be computer based. But it's not something to be feared. It's something to be embraced. The same thing happened in recruitment. The same thing happened in banking. These people owned the technology. You go out there, get it, learn it, take it. Discard the stuff that isn't useful, and as long as you own the technology, it will be useful and it won't replace what you need to do. Coding, I'll give you an example, a live example that I saw pre-COVID. I went to see our clients in Hong Kong. I went into Bird & Bird, who some of you may be familiar with, one of the largest IP specialist law firms in the world. Their office in Hong Kong now is set up that on the outside are the lawyers. I didn't even see where the support staff sat, but the lawyers are on the outside. And in the middle, there's a glass pod filled, I reckon, probably 30 people or so, and they were coding. They're developing their own software, their own trademarks. It's literally like a tech firm that is developing software in-house. Slaughter and May in London are doing the same thing. Many other firms are now doing the same thing, where they're developing their own software. And then, and we joked. I was joking with the CEO, saying, "So is this the future of law then? Are you just going to have one lawyer and just a bank of computers?" And he said, "Maybe." I don't think it would hurt. It's a language. I can't remember the lady's name earlier who asked about the languages. Coding is a language as well. Maybe that's something that you need to touch on. Flat fees and merit-based pay I can take in. I can understand your concerns about merit-based and whether that's relatively unfair, and whether flat fees, the pressure comes from the client. But you've got to remember, a lot of this is being pressed by the clients, what they want to pay. There's a lot of competition out there amongst law firms, so some are more willing to come down than others, and yeah, I mean that sort of leads on to how people are remunerated. The merit-based system, I happen to agree with it. I know it comes with issues, but I can tell you now, if I go and see 20 law firms next week, every single one of them, they're all talking about revenue pressures, what to pay people. And it is an industry that I feel, from what I can see, that is moving much more in the business towards remunerating those that are more profitable. And yes, that may fall through the team. Whether that's a good thing or another, we could have another session with Rory and have a debate over whether that's a good thing or not. But it is happening. So it's something you need to be conscious of, and I don't see it changing. I mean, the biggest advocate of lockstep models was a law firm in the US called Cravath. They're the #1 law firm in the world. I don't think they've got an office outside of the US. And everybody always based their remuneration on the Cravath model. And Cravath have now come out and got rid of lockstep. They've now gone to a merit-based system for all their lawyers. And that was early this year, January. So things are changing. It is becoming a merit-based system of pay. There's another person with a...
Sorry, yes, there was another person. We like now have 7 minutes and we're already over. So someone else had a question. I think they put their hand down, but so just ask your question. And then I think Rob has like 2 minutes to answer and then we can wrap up.
Okay, thank you. My question, I've only got one, and either Rob or Rory, both of you can answer. So I'm not someone who is already an attorney. I'm just starting out my legal career, and it's not as linear as like the textbook legal student, right? So getting your LLB, becoming a CA, and then getting into a law firm. So I'm still in the process of getting my LLB. I've got a BCom law from BITS, and in the process of getting my LLB, I've been looking for like entry-level employment in the legal field, in a law firm somewhere in South Africa, just so that by the time I get my LLB, I've got enough entry-level experience within the law firm, right, to set me up for asking them to do my articles with them at some point. And I found it really difficult to find those sort of opportunities within South Africa. And as such, right now I work for a law firm that's based in the USA. I work for a law firm that's based in Atlanta, and it's an entry-level role. It's my second role actually that I got with an American-based law firm. And I found that in the law firms that I'm working for, I worked for one in Texas and I'm based with one that's in Atlanta. They are providing opportunities, like very entry-level opportunities to someone who's looking to build a legal career, right? And I just wanted to find out from you guys, if in your experience from the smaller law firms, have you seen the firms being open to creating those sort of opportunities for people whose legal careers aren't as linear as getting your LLB and then being ready to become a CA, right? So someone who's wanting to start from the bottom up. And if there are those sort of opportunities within smaller to medium law firms within South Africa, how does one then prepare themselves for entering that sort of market within the country? Because I found it kind of weird that I was able to get an entry-level role in the law firm in the USA than I was in South Africa. And how then do I transfer that and prepare myself to be able to get some of those roles? And what sort of skills, soft skills you mentioned, familiarizing yourself with the right tech, networking, getting those soft skills to get you ready for working within the South African law space, even if it's in a small law firm. Do you guys have any advice along that line?
I'm gonna jump in there, Kutse.
Okay.
That's a massive question that I can give a lot of answers to. But I'm thinking that, and this is open to everybody. I'm willing to chat offline not over the weekend, but next week, anytime. If anybody wants to call or contact me, they're most welcome. We can, Rory, maybe you and I can also do just a video thing where we can answer that question. I feel like I got answers, but it's going to take about 20 minutes to answer them, and I think we're going to run out of time.
Yeah, we are going to run out of time. I think
there's one person with their hand up there.
Yes.
Just to let you know, if you want to email me, we can supply my email.
Yes.
I'm happy to talk to anyone. There's a few questions on the chat as well.
Sure.
Just, connect with me on LinkedIn or send me an email and I'll.
I'm going to share Rob's email on this, and there's a few follow-ups. There's so much, like I've been taking notes, and so you need to have follow-up sessions. Okay, so please share. Will you just email me? Because I think it's fantastic that you have this opportunity with the overseas law firm. And I think it's something that we actually need to share with anyone else. So if you don't mind, please just email me the details of the program that you're on. And I will address your question offline. I'll probably send you an email later.
I love that, because it's exactly what I was talking about 40 minutes ago. And I was saying yes, because this democratization of law is opening up global opportunities for young South African lawyers. And then this lady said she's doing it, which is great. So
amazing.
Yeah,
and I think it's something you can share with everyone else, but I do understand your question and I'll email you an answer separately. Radile, what is your question? Sorry, in 30 seconds. We might also have to park it, and then I might have to talk to you like offline, but please just share your question with us.
Yeah. All right. Hello, Rory and Rob and
Hi.
everybody else.
Hi.
I actually I had my hand down, but I wanted to add on what Kuketso was saying because I also don't have a linear career. I'm actually turning 39 this year, and I'm at my wit end looking for a job in the legal field. Funny enough, I'm admitted now. I have.
Oh,
Breaking up a
sorry,
bit.
the line is bad.
Definitely email and I'll answer, or
Yeah.
Rory will answer, but I'll happily help you. To anyone that's at their wit's end, we're here to help because
Yeah.
there are opportunities. It's just about, sometimes it's about the approach. It's about going to the right places, but
I
that's
have
we
a
can help
PhD
with.
in human genetics. It's breaking. Yeah.
Yeah, it's breaking. Sorry, Radhila, I think we've actually just
Yeah,
run
I
out
was.
of time. Do you mind just emailing me?
That's fine.
You can just send me a separate email and then I'll pass that on to Rob and then we can see, you know, what assistance we can give. And
Happy to.
yeah, so I think we've run out of time. Just to
Well,
say,
thank you so much, everybody.
Yeah.
And Rory, thank you so
All
much
right,
for your
thanks.
time and your platform, Rory. Thank you so much to everybody. I really am here to help if I can. You know, I've mentioned CV templates, video links. I'll happily share all of that with Rory for all of you. And like I say, connect with me and I'll answer any questions I can. And yeah, let's do this together.
Yeah.
May I please?
Thank you so much,
May I
Rob.
please?
This was fantastic. Such valuable insights. I will, yes, I will send you guys a summary of our discussion today. And then Rob is going to send me a couple of things I'm going to unsend to you. That amazing program Ukoketso talked about, I think is something, you know, we need to spread the knowledge and share as much as we can. So thanks, guys. We've run out of time, but I will be communicating with you guys via email. And
Wonderful.
I think our next session is going to be on international working opportunities. And I'll have more people who've had experience in New York, London, have gone to Oxford and that type of stuff to talk to you guys about the opportunities that are out there for you guys internationally. So we'll chat on email.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.